The great hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with excited voices. Hundreds of alien beings from across the galaxy had gathered for this special meeting. Their scales, fur, and strange skin colors created a rainbow of life forms that filled the massive chamber. At the center of it all stood High Commander Vextari, a towering creature with 4 arms and bright red eyes that glowed like fire. Ambassador Jin sat quietly at the small human table. He was a calm man with gray hair and kind eyes. Next to him sat Colonel Na, a woman with sharp features who wore her military uniform with pride. On his other side was Dr. Hyun, a young scientist who kept looking at his datapad with worry. The 3 humans looked very small compared to the hundreds of aliens around them. Most of the aliens were much bigger than humans. Some had thick armor-like skin, others had multiple heads or extra arms. They all seemed to think humans were weak and harmless. High Commander Vexitari raised all 4 of his arms to get attention. The room became quiet. His voice was deep and loud like thunder. "Today we end the problem of the human pest," he announced. The alien crowd cheered and roared with approval. "These weak mammals have spread to too many worlds. They take resources that belong to stronger species." Ambassador Jin remained calm. He had heard these complaints before. Many alien species thought humans expanded too quickly through space. In just 200 years, humans had built colonies on dozens of worlds. They traded with everyone and seemed friendly. But some aliens saw this as a threat. "We give the humans one choice," Vextari continued. "Surrender all your colonies. Give us your homeworld called Earth. You have 30 days to obey. This is not a request. This is an order." The aliens cheered louder. They banged their fists, claws, and tentacles on their tables. Some made scary growling sounds. They all believed humans would surrender quickly. After all, humans had never fought a real war in space. They seemed too soft and peaceful. Ambassador Jin stood up slowly. He was much shorter than most aliens in the room, but he did not seem afraid. He cleared his throat and spoke in a calm, clear voice. "Thank you, High Commander, for explaining your position," Jin said politely. "However, we must respectfully decline your offer. Humanity prefers to solve problems through peaceful talks, not threats." The room exploded with angry roars and hissing sounds. Many aliens could not believe what they heard. How dare these weak humans refuse their demands? Vextari's red eyes became even brighter with rage. "You foolish mammal. Do you not understand? We are the hegemony. We have conquered 47 worlds. Our ships are faster and stronger than yours. Our weapons can destroy planets. You have no choice but to obey." Dr. Hyun leaned over to whisper something in Jin's ear. The ambassador nodded slightly but kept his face calm. "We understand your strength," Jin replied, "but we also understand the value of peaceful solutions. Perhaps we can find a way to share the galaxy without war." This made the aliens even angrier. They thought humans were either very brave or very stupid. Most believed humans were just stupid. Vextari slammed all 4 fists on his podium. "There will be no sharing. You will surrender or be destroyed. I, High Commander Vextari of the Great Hegemony, formally declare war on the human species. We will crush you like the weak insects you are." The alien crowd went wild with excitement. They had been waiting for this moment. Finally, they would show these humans who really ruled the galaxy. Some aliens were already planning how to divide up human worlds among themselves. Colonel Na touched Ambassador Jin's arm gently. She whispered something that made him nod. Jin reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small device that looked like a simple communication tool. "Very well," Jin said sadly. "We hoped this day would never come. But if war is your choice, then we must accept it." He pressed a button on the small device. The device made no sound. It did not light up or beep. Most aliens did not even notice it. They were too busy celebrating their coming victory. But far away in deep space around human worlds, something began to happen. Secret monitoring stations that had been watching hegemony ship movements for months suddenly came alive. Silent signals traveled faster than light to every human colony, every space station, every ship. On Earth, in a hidden command center buried deep underground, red lights began to flash. General Min looked up from her desk as alarms started ringing softly. She had been expecting this call for a long time. "Emergency Protocol 7 is now active," a calm computer voice announced. "All units report to battle stations. This is not a drill." Back in the council chamber, the aliens continued to celebrate. They made jokes about how quickly they would defeat the humans. Some bet on how many days it would take. Most guessed less than a week. Vextari raised his arms again for silence. Humans, you have made the worst mistake in your species' short history. We will show you what real power looks like. Our fleets are already moving toward your pathetic colonies. Soon you will beg for the mercy we offered today. Ambassador Jin gathered his papers calmly. Colonel Na and Dr. Hyun also stood up to leave. They did not seem scared or worried. This surprised some of the watching aliens. High Commander, Jin said as they prepared to go. I hope you will remember that we offered peace first. What happens next is your choice, not ours. The three humans walked toward the exit. As they left, they could hear the aliens still laughing and making plans for their easy victory. None of them noticed the small, sad smile on Dr. Hyun's face. Outside the chamber, Dr. Hyun finally spoke. The deep space sensors have been tracking their fleet movements for 3 months. Every ship, every route, every supply line. Colonel Na nodded. Command knows they're coming. Everyone is ready. Ambassador Jin sighed as they walked to their shuttle. I really hoped it wouldn't come to this. They have no idea what they just started. As their shuttle left the council station, the celebration inside continued. The aliens were so confident in their victory that they didn't bother to guard against human ships leaving. Why would they? The war would be over before humans could do anything important. But across human space, ancient plans were already in motion. Plans that had been waiting quietly for exactly this day. Plans that would soon teach the galaxy a very hard lesson about underestimating humanity. 3 weeks had passed since the hegemony declared war on humanity. High Commander Vextari stood in his command ship's bridge, staring at the reports that made no sense to him. His red eyes burned with confusion and growing anger. Explain this to me again, he growled at his intelligence officer. How did we lose 3 battle groups to a farming colony? The smaller alien officer trembled as he spoke. Sir, the humans on New Sol Colony fought much harder than expected. They used tactics we have never seen before. They seemed to know exactly where our ships would attack. Vexitari crushed the data pad in one of his powerful hands. This was not how the war was supposed to go. The hegemony had studied humans for years. They were supposed to be soft traders and farmers. They built pretty cities and grew food. They were not supposed to be warriors. On New Sol Colony, Captain Sue wiped blood from a small cut on her forehead. Around her, the colony's defense center buzzed with activity. Humans ran back and forth, checking equipment and coordinating with other colonies. The walls were covered with screens showing ship movements and battle plans. How many did we get this time? Sue asked her second in command. 12 hegemony ships destroyed, sir. 6 more damaged and running away. We lost 2 fighters and had some damage to the main shield generator. Sue nodded. It was a good result, but she knew more attacks would come. The aliens were getting angrier with each defeat. She looked at the tactical display showing enemy ship movements throughout human space. The hegemony had expected to crush each human colony quickly with overwhelming force. Instead, they found every human world ready to fight. The colonists were not scared farmers hiding in their homes. They were organized defenders who fought with deadly skill and smart planning. Back on Earth, General Min walked through the Strategic Defense Center. The underground facility was huge, with hundreds of people working at computer stations. Giant screens on the walls showed the entire galaxy, with little lights marking every human ship and colony. Give me a report on all fronts. Min ordered her staff. Hegemony forces are attacking 7 colonies simultaneously, reported Commander Lee. All attacks have been repelled. Enemy casualties are running 15-1 in our favor. General Min smiled grimly. The numbers were good, but she knew the real test was still coming. The hegemony would eventually figure out that their first plan was not working. Then they would try something else. Dr. Ra entered the command center carrying a thick folder of papers. She was the head of xenobiology research, which meant she studied alien life forms. Her job was to understand how the enemy thought and fought. General, I have completed my analysis of hegemony combat behavior, Dr. Ra said. They have 3 major weaknesses we can use against them. Min gestured for her to continue. First, they rely too heavily on raw strength. They expect to win by having bigger ships and more powerful weapons. Second, they use very rigid battle plans that do not change during fights. Third, they have never fought against an enemy that adapts quickly to their tactics. This made sense to Min. Humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. They learned to be creative and flexible because they had fought so many different enemies. The hegemony had always won by being stronger than everyone else. They never learned how to think around problems. In another part of the facility, Intelligence Officer Tay sat in a dark room filled with communication equipment. He was listening to intercepted alien messages. Most of what he heard made him smile. "General Min, you need to hear this," Tay called out over the intercom. Min walked to the intelligence section. Tay played a recorded conversation between two hegemony commanders. "These humans fight like demons," one alien voice said. "They appear where we do not expect them. They use weapons that should not work against our shields. How do they know our ship design so well? Perhaps our intelligence about them was wrong," replied the second voice. "But High Commander Vextari orders us to continue attacking. He says they are just lucky." General Min and her staff exchanged glances. The aliens were starting to worry, but their leader was too proud to admit he had made a mistake. On the bridge of his command ship, Vextari was having the same conversation with his own officers. Reports kept coming in about failed attacks and destroyed ships. Each report made him angrier. "Sir," said his tactical officer carefully, "perhaps we should reconsider our approach. The humans seem to have better defenses than we thought." "Impossible," Vextari roared. "They are primitive mammals who have barely left their homeworld. They cannot defeat the mighty hegemony. Our next attack will use twice as many ships. We will crush them with pure force." But even as he spoke, Vextari felt a small seed of doubt growing in his mind. The humans were not behaving like any enemy the hegemony had ever fought. They seemed to actually enjoy fighting. Their communications that the hegemony intercepted were calm and professional, even during the worst battles. How could they be so relaxed when facing the galaxy's most powerful military? Captain Sue on New Sol Colony was asking herself the same question about the aliens. She read intelligence reports about hegemony forces throughout the galaxy. They were clearly powerful and had conquered many worlds, but they fought like robots following a script. They never tried anything unexpected or creative. "It's like fighting someone who learned warfare from a textbook but never actually practiced," she told her officers during a planning meeting. "They know all the rules, but they don't know how to break them when needed." Her communications officer looked up from his station. "Captain, we are getting reports from other colonies. The pattern is the same everywhere. The aliens attack with overwhelming force, but they use predictable tactics. Our defenders are picking them apart." Sue nodded. She had been wondering if her colony was just lucky, but it seemed like humans everywhere were having the same success. Maybe the aliens had made a bigger mistake than they realized. Dr. Ra was thinking the same thing as she compiled reports from across human space. Every battle showed the same pattern. The hegemony would attack with superior numbers and firepower, but humans would use clever tactics and superior coordination to win anyway. The most interesting part was that humans seemed to be learning from each battle. They shared information quickly across their entire space. When one colony discovered a weakness in hegemony shields, every other colony knew about it within hours. When another colony found a good way to confuse alien sensors, the technique spread instantly. The hegemony, meanwhile, seemed to learn nothing. They kept using the same failed tactics over and over. Each time they lost ships, they would just send more ships using the same plan. As the third week of war ended, General Min stood in front of the main tactical display. Red dots marked hegemony forces and blue dots marked human positions. The red dots were getting fewer, while the blue dots remained steady. "They still don't understand what they're fighting," she said to her staff. "They think we're just lucky farmers with some good weapons. They have no idea that we've been preparing for this war since the day we met them." Outside, through the thick windows of the underground facility, Earth looked peaceful and quiet. But beneath the surface, humanity's true nature was finally beginning to show. 6 months into the war, Major High crouched behind the twisted wreckage of what used to be a hegemony destroyer. Around her, the Proxima defense line stretched across space like a wall of steel and fire. Human ships moved in perfect formation, their weapons ready for the next alien attack. "Command, this is Major High reporting from Proxima 7, she spoke into her communicator. "The aliens just tried another assault. We destroyed 8 of their ships and captured 2 more, but something strange is happening with their technology." Back on Earth, Admiral Wu listened to the report from the main war room. She was a tall woman with gray streaks in her black hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. Around her, dozens of officers worked at computer stations tracking the war across human space. "Explain the strange part," Wu requested. Major High's voice crackled through the speakers. "Their ship armor is adapting to our weapons, Admiral. Each time we hit them, the armor gets a little stronger against that type of attack. And their targeting systems are learning how we fly our ships. This was interesting news. It meant the aliens had better technology than humans first thought. But it also meant something else. They're finally starting to fight smart, Admiral Wu said to her staff. The question is, are they learning fast enough? Admiral Wu had a secret she was about to share with the Galactic Council. For 50 years since humans first met aliens, they had been preparing for exactly this kind of war. Every friendly trade mission had also been a spying mission. Every diplomatic meeting had been a chance to study potential enemies. On the other side of the galaxy, High Commander Vextari was having a very different conversation. His command ship floated above the burned remains of what used to be a hegemony supply base. Human raiders had destroyed it 3 days ago and disappeared before reinforcements arrived. How is this possible? Vextari demanded of his science officer. Humans have only been in space for 2 centuries. We have been conquering worlds for over 1,000 years. How are they beating us? The science officer, a thin creature with multiple eyes, trembled as he answered. Sir, I believe we made incorrect assumptions about human capabilities. Their ships use technologies that should not exist. Their tactics suggest they have been studying us for decades. Vextari's forearms shook with rage. Impossible. We watched them build their colonies. We saw their peaceful merchant ships. They are traders and farmers, not warriors. But even as he spoke, Vextari knew something was very wrong. Human forces were not just winning battles. They were winning too easily. They seemed to know exactly where hegemony forces would attack and exactly how to defeat them. The truth was about to be revealed. Admiral Wu stood before a special session of the Galactic Council. Representatives from dozens of alien species had gathered to hear what humans had to say about the war. Many of them had been quietly supporting the hegemony, thinking humans would be crushed quickly. Honored representatives, Admiral Wu began, it is time to share some information that humanity hoped we would never need to reveal. She activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy. Hundreds of dots appeared, marking human colonies, trade stations, and ships. But then more dots appeared. Secret bases, hidden weapons platforms, and disguised military vessels. For the past 50 years, every human colony has also been a fortress. Every merchant ship has been capable of military action. Every civilian has received basic combat training. We hoped we would never need these preparations, but the hegemony has forced our hand. The alien representatives stared in shock. The humans they thought they knew did not exist. The peaceful traders and farmers were actually the most prepared military force in the galaxy. But that is not all, Admiral Wu continued. She pressed another button, and the display changed to show detailed technical drawings of hegemony ships. Weapons and equipment. We have been studying every alien species we encountered, learning your strengths and weaknesses, developing specific countermeasures for your technologies. We know how fast your ships can fly, how strong your shields are, and exactly where to hit you to cause the most damage. Commander Jun stood up from the human delegation. He was a younger officer with calm eyes and a slight smile. In his hands was a data pad containing information that would change everything. 3 days ago, we conducted a field test of our anti-hegemony warfare systems, Jun announced. We captured one of their most advanced destroyers completely intact, with its crew unharmed. The entire operation took less than 10 minutes. He activated a video recording that showed human fighters surrounding a hegemony warship. Instead of destroying it, they used some kind of special weapon that simply shut down all the alien ship systems. The ship floated helplessly as human forces boarded it. How? Gasped one of the alien representatives. We studied hegemony technology for decades, Jun explained. We know their ships better than they do. We identified 17 critical weaknesses in their design and built weapons specifically to exploit them. This destroyer was captured using a weapon that exists only to defeat hegemony shields and power systems. High Commander Vextari watched this broadcast from his command ship. His red eyes had lost their fire and now burned with something else: fear. For the first time in his long military career, he understood that he was not fighting weak prey. He was fighting predators who had been hunting him since the day they met. Sir, his intelligence officer said quietly, we have received reports from across our territory. Human raids have destroyed 67 supply bases, captured 12 ships, and eliminated 4 entire battle groups. They are not attacking randomly. They are systematically destroying our ability to fight. Vextari stared at the tactical display showing hegemony forces throughout the galaxy. Red markers showed damaged or destroyed units. There were far too many red markers. "They have been planning this war since before we declared it," he whispered. Back at the Galactic Council, Admiral Wu was delivering the final part of her presentation. "Humanity has always preferred peace to war," she said. "But we are the children of a world that has seen thousands of years of conflict. We survived ice ages, plagues, and wars that nearly destroyed our entire species. We learned to adapt, to improvise, and to never give up." She looked directly at the camera that was broadcasting to hegemony forces. "High Commander Vextari, you declared war on a species that has been preparing for this exact moment since we first left our homeworld. You thought we were weak because we chose peace. You confused kindness with weakness. That was your first and greatest mistake." The alien representatives in the council chamber sat in stunned silence. Some were impressed. Others were terrified. All of them were beginning to understand that they had seriously underestimated humanity. Dr. Bin, a human scientist, stepped forward with the final revelation. "The hegemony wanted to know why we are so good at war," she said. "The answer is simple. Humans are the only species in the galaxy that survived multiple extinction events on their homeworld. We are the descendants of the most dangerous warriors our planet ever produced. We just hoped we would never need to prove it." As the broadcast ended, the reality of the situation became clear to everyone watching. The hegemony had not declared war on peaceful farmers. They had declared war on the most successful survivors in galactic history. And the survivors were winning. 1 year after the hegemony declared war on humanity, Fleet Admiral Bo stood on the bridge of the human dreadnought Earth's Vengeance. Through the massive windows, she could see the burning remains of what used to be the strongest hegemony fortress in this sector of space. It had taken her forces exactly 4 hours to completely destroy it. "Admiral, we are receiving surrender signals from the remaining hegemony ships," reported her communications officer. "They want to negotiate terms." "Tell them to power down their weapons and prepare to be boarded," Bo replied calmly. "No negotiations. They started this war. We will finish it on our terms." Admiral Bo was not a cruel person, but she understood something that the aliens did not. Sometimes you had to be completely overwhelming to prevent future wars. The galaxy needed to learn that attacking humans was a mistake that would never be worth making. Behind her fleet, dozens of captured hegemony ships flew under human control. Each one had been taken intact, along with its crew and all its technology. This was not random luck. This was the result of careful planning and superior tactics. Lieutenant Colonel Da worked in the research bay of the same ship, surrounded by alien technology and captured equipment. She was a small woman with quick hands and an even quicker mind. Her job was to figure out how enemy technology worked and how to make it better. "Admiral, you need to see this," Da called over the intercom. "We have completely reverse-engineered their shield systems. Not only that, we have improved them by 30% efficiency." This was the pattern throughout human space. Every captured alien ship became a source of new technology. Every piece of enemy equipment was studied, understood, and improved upon. Humans did not just defeat their enemies. They learned from them and became stronger. On the bridge of his failing command ship, High Commander Vextari stared at reports that seemed impossible. In just 1 year, the mighty hegemony had lost over half of their military strength. Entire fleets had simply disappeared. Supply lines had been cut. Key fortress worlds had fallen to human attacks. "How many ships do we have left?" he asked his tactical officer. "Sir, our active fleet strength is down to approximately 30% of pre-war levels. We have lost control of 12 key systems. Human forces are advancing on 3 different fronts." Vexitari's red eyes had become dull with despair. Everything he thought he knew about warfare had been proven wrong. The hegemony's strategy of overwhelming force had failed completely against an enemy that refused to be overwhelmed. "Sir," his intelligence officer interrupted, "we are receiving reports from our spies throughout the galaxy. Other alien species are watching this war with great interest." This was perhaps the most frightening news of all. The hegemony's power had been built on the fear of other species. If they appeared weak, their entire empire could collapse from within. Dr. Bin sat in a secure conference room on Earth, surrounded by charts and data displays. She was briefing the human leadership on what the war meant for the future of the galaxy. As a xenosociologist, her job was to understand how alien societies worked and how they might react to human victories. "The psychological impact of this war goes far beyond military defeat," she explained to the assembled generals and admirals. The hegemony built their empire on the belief that they were the strongest species in the galaxy. We have proven that belief wrong. Other species are watching and learning. General Min nodded from her seat at the conference table. What are they learning exactly? That humans are not the weak prey species they appeared to be. That peaceful behavior should not be mistaken for weakness. And most importantly, that the galaxy's balance of power has permanently changed. Dr. Bin activated a holographic display showing communication intercepts from across the galaxy. Alien species that had been conquered by the hegemony were starting to rebel. Others who had stayed neutral were beginning to reach out to humanity for protection or alliance. The hegemony's empire is collapsing from within, she continued. Their subject species are rising up because they see that the great hegemony can be defeated. We are not just winning a war. We are reshaping the entire galactic political structure. Back in space, Fleet Admiral Bo was seeing this collapse happen in real time. Her task force had just liberated a world that the hegemony had conquered 20 years earlier. The local population, a species of peaceful plant-like beings, had welcomed human forces as heroes. Admiral, reported Captain Sue, who now commanded her own ship. The hegemony garrison surrendered without firing a shot. The local population had already surrounded them and demanded they leave. This was becoming a common pattern. As news of human victories spread, conquered species throughout hegemony space were rebelling against their occupiers. Some fights were still difficult, but many hegemony forces were finding themselves outnumbered by the very people they had been oppressing. Lieutenant Colonel Da made another breakthrough in her research lab. She had been studying captured hegemony weapons and had discovered something remarkable. Admiral Bo, please come to the research bay immediately, she called excitedly. When the Admiral arrived, Da showed her a display full of technical data and weapon schematics. The hegemony's weapons are actually less advanced than ours in most ways, Da explained. They relied on raw power instead of efficiency, but they do have one technology we can use. Their energy-focusing systems are brilliant. She activated a demonstration that showed how human weapons could be improved using captured alien technology. If we combine their focusing systems with our targeting computers and our power systems, we can create weapons that are 50% more effective than anything either of our species had before. Admiral Bo smiled. This was exactly what made humans dangerous. They did not just defeat their enemies. They learned from them, took their best ideas and made those ideas even better. Meanwhile, High Commander Vexitari was learning this lesson the hard way. His latest intelligence report showed that humans were using improved versions of hegemony technology against hegemony forces. Weapons that his own scientists had designed were now being used to destroy his ships. They are better at being us than we are, he said quietly to himself. His science officer overheard and nodded sadly. Yes, sir. They take our technology and make it work better. They take our tactics and improve them. They take our strategies and turn them against us. I do not think we can win this war. For the first time since declaring war on humanity, Vextari was beginning to agree. The turning point came during the Battle of Hegemony Prime, the aliens' most important military base. Fleet Admiral Bo led a combined human task force of over 200 ships against the hegemony's last major stronghold. The battle lasted only 6 hours. Human forces used captured alien technology, improved with human engineering to completely overwhelm the defenders. The hegemony's most advanced weapons were defeated by better versions of their own technology in human hands. As the great hegemony fortress burned in space, alien commanders throughout the galaxy received the message loud and clear. The war was over. The hegemony had been completely outmatched by an enemy they had foolishly underestimated. Dr. Bin watched the battle reports from Earth and made notes for her final analysis. The war had lasted exactly 1 year and 2 months. In that time, humanity had gone from appearing to be helpless prey to becoming the galaxy's dominant military power. They declared war on us because they thought we were weak, she wrote in her report. They learned too late that our apparent weakness was actually our greatest strength. We survived on Earth because we were the most adaptable, most creative, and most determined species our planet ever produced. The galaxy is about to learn what that really means. 18 months after declaring war on humanity, High Commander Vexitari stood alone in his private quarters aboard his damaged command ship. Through his window, he could see human ships surrounding what remained of his once mighty fleet. The proud hegemony that had conquered dozens of worlds now consisted of barely 50 ships and a handful of broken outposts. On his desk lay a simple document written in both hegemony script and human languages. It was an offer of surrender terms from the humans. Vextari had read it a dozen times, unable to believe what it contained. A soft chime indicated someone was at his door. "Enter," he called wearily. His intelligence officer stepped inside, looking as defeated as his commander felt. "Sir, the human representative is here to speak with you." Vextari straightened his uniform and tried to regain some dignity. "Send her in." Ambassador Yoon entered the room with calm, measured steps. She was a middle-aged human woman with kind eyes and gray hair pulled back neatly. She looked nothing like the terrifying warrior that Vextari had expected to meet. Behind her walked 2 human guards, but they remained by the door and did not seem threatening. "Hi, Commander," Yoon said politely, bowing her head slightly in a gesture of respect. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with me." Vextari was confused. He had expected demands, threats, or humiliation. Instead, this human was treating him with the same diplomatic courtesy she might show to an honored ally. "Ambassador Yoon," he replied, trying to match her formal tone. "I have read your terms. They are not what I expected," Yoon smiled gently. "What did you expect, High Commander?" "Total surrender. Slavery for my people. The complete destruction of hegemony civilization. The execution of all military leaders." Vextari's voice grew quieter with each word. "It is what we would have demanded from you." "Yes," Yoon agreed sadly. "We know. We studied your treatment of conquered species very carefully. But humans do not conquer to destroy. We fight to protect and to build something better." She gestured toward the document on his desk. "Our terms are simple. Complete cessation of hostilities, full withdrawal from all occupied worlds, cooperation with the Galactic Integration Project. And in return, we offer technology sharing, trade agreements, and a place in the new galactic community we are building." Vextari stared at her in disbelief. "You want to make us your partners? After we tried to destroy you?" "High Commander, humanity learned something important during our time on Earth. The greatest victories come not from destroying your enemies, but from turning them into friends. We would prefer to have the hegemony as allies rather than as conquered subjects." This conversation was taking place throughout former hegemony space. Human diplomatic teams were meeting with alien leaders, offering the same generous terms that Vextari had been given. The pattern was always the same. The aliens expected punishment and revenge, but humans offered partnership and cooperation instead. On Earth, Dr. Han stood before a massive construction project that stretched across several continents. The Galactic Integration Center was being built to serve as the new hub for interspecies cooperation. Alien refugees from the war worked alongside human engineers, sharing knowledge and building something that had never existed before, a truly cooperative galactic civilization. Dr. Han called out one of her assistants, a young hegemony scientist named Kreltar, who had defected during the war. "The new shield generators are working perfectly. The combination of human and hegemony technology is creating defensive systems that are twice as effective as either species could build alone." Dr. Han smiled as she watched former enemies working together on projects that would benefit everyone. This was what humanity had really been fighting for. Not victory over their enemies, but the chance to create something better than what had existed before. Back on Vextari's command ship, the High Commander was still struggling to understand human motivations. "Why?" he asked Ambassador Yoon. "You could demand anything from us. You could take our worlds, our resources, our freedom. Instead, you offer us equality. Why would you do this?" Yoon walked to the window and looked out at the mixed fleet of human and former hegemony ships that now patrolled this region of space together. "Because, High Commander, we learned something very important about war during our species' history on Earth. Every war ends eventually. When it does, you have a choice. You can create more enemies who will seek revenge, or you can create allies who will help you build a better future." She turned back to face him. "We chose to build allies." Vextari signed the surrender document with all 4 of his hands. As he did, he felt something he had never experienced before: relief. The war was over, and somehow, impossibly, his people would survive and even prosper under human leadership. 3 months later, Captain Seok addressed the reformed Galactic Council. The chamber had been rebuilt to accommodate representatives from every species in known space, including former hegemony worlds that were now independent, but allied with humanity. The war between humanity and the hegemony is officially concluded, Siok announced. But more importantly, we have learned valuable lessons that will guide us into the future. The alien representatives listened carefully. Many of them had watched the war with growing amazement and horror. They had seen the most powerful military force in the galaxy completely defeated by a species they had all underestimated. Humanity never wanted to reveal our true capabilities, Siok continued. We preferred to be underestimated rather than feared. We wanted to explore the galaxy, make friends, and build peaceful relationships with all species. He paused and looked directly at the area where former hegemony representatives now sat as equals among the other delegates. But when forced to defend ourselves, we discovered that our greatest strength was not our weapons or our technology. It was our ability to learn, adapt, and ultimately forgive our enemies. After the formal session ended, representatives from dozens of species gathered in smaller groups to discuss what they had witnessed. The conversations all centered around the same theme. Humanity had fundamentally changed how galactic politics would work from now on. Dr. Han, now serving as head of the Galactic Integration Project, found herself surrounded by alien scientists eager to collaborate on joint research projects. Former hegemony researchers worked alongside species that had been their enemies just months before. The most remarkable thing about humans, commented Dr. Vex Ali, a former hegemony scientist, is not that they can fight so well, but that they can forgive so completely. They turned us from conquerors into partners. I do not understand how they did it. Dr. Han smiled. It's simple, really. We learned that the best way to win a war is to make sure it's the last war you ever have to fight. You do that by helping your former enemies build something better than what existed before. As the months passed, a new phrase began to spread throughout the galaxy. It was spoken in cantinas and meeting halls, in diplomatic chambers and military academies. Whenever someone suggested starting a conflict with humanity, others would respond with knowing looks and gentle warnings. So you want to declare war on humans, they would say with a mixture of amusement and concern. That's a bold move. The phrase became a cautionary reminder of what happened when the hegemony had made that exact same bold move. It served as a warning that the peaceful, friendly humans who traded goods and shared knowledge throughout the galaxy were not weak or helpless. They were the most dangerous warriors the galaxy had ever produced, made even more dangerous by their preference for peace. But perhaps most importantly, the phrase reminded everyone that humans had proven something remarkable. The greatest victories come not from destroying your enemies, but from turning them into allies who help you build a better future for everyone. In the end, the war had taught the galaxy that declaring war on humans was indeed a bold move. It was bold because it was incredibly foolish, incredibly dangerous, and incredibly likely to result in the attacker becoming a better person despite themselves. The hegemony had learned this lesson the hard way. The rest of the galaxy learned it by watching, and everyone agreed that learning it the second way was much, much better than learning it the first way. Humanity had won the war not through conquest, but through the most powerful force in the universe, the ability to turn enemies into friends, hatred into cooperation, and war into the foundation for lasting peace.